Second for this. We're going to stream to a couple of channels today, Nick. So
Cool.
it'll take just a second for that to resolve. It's working on it now, and then
And
we'll be good to go. Okay, it's set. We are we are ready to roll, and it's top of the hour. And I will hand it over to you to take away.
awesome. Sounds great. Let's pull up our presentation here. Good morning, good afternoon, everybody, where everybody is. Um, Wanted to take today, we love doing these sessions every other week for our getting started with sequence process. So I know we've got a mix of people that RSVP'd between individuals, couples, business owners, you name it. Great news is we're going to go over a lot of different situations today. The goal of this meeting is literally to make sure that everybody feels well informed, understands the product, understands everything that we're doing, and in enabling you guys to make that next step. So maybe you're just getting started today. Maybe you haven't even signed up yet. Maybe you've been a user but still want to feel more confident in how we can set everything up. That's exactly what we're going to go over today, kind of like the core basic building blocks of how to get set up on sequence so that you can not only start to control your financial life, but start to making that real progress towards whether it's our investment goals, paying off debt, starting a new business, scaling your business, you name it. We've had some amazing success stories. So we're going to spend the first few minutes just kind of framing out the conversation, what we're going to be talking about, some of the success people have had, and then we're going to spend the vast majority of today just diving into like actual practical use cases and how to build out your map. Like we're going to go from scratch, how to build this thing out, so you can see in just a few minutes how you can set up your financial life to really bring in some automation and hopefully free up some of that mental stress that we all have related to finances and set yourself in a better position moving forward. So with that, Kevin, you guys can see my screen, correct?
Yep, everything looks great.
Okay, perfect, perfect. So let's do this. So what is Sequence? Some of you might know this already, but for those that aren't or listening in for the first time, Sequence is all about helping you visualize and automate your financial flow. Was a financial advisor. Let me be clear, was a financial advisor for a number of years, sold my practice, started building technology for advisors. I love this personal finance space. And one of the biggest challenges that we had when working with clients, no matter the income, because most of our clients were very wealthy, very successful people. It didn't matter how much cash flow was coming in, there was usually an equal, if not larger amount going out. And so this whole process of helping people understand where they're spending their money and helping them make the better decisions goes a long ways, because what we see in traditional budgeting tools is it's a great way to look back, right? Similar to an accountant that is helping you understand where you spent your money. The real challenge is helping people change that behavior moving forward, because we might know where we spent our money, but if we can't change that behavior, that doesn't allow us to make any progress. So what we're going to talk about today is how Sequence helps you set up those smart money rules to move your money effortlessly so you don't have to have all of that mental burden. We call it the behavioral finance is a really big piece in this space, just in the same way that behavioral psychology is a really important piece in how we behave. How we behave with our money is a real issue, and so we're trying to help break that challenge that so many people have. And really, the ultimate goal is to build the financial security without the constant effort, without the constant frustration, without the constant stress that we also are probably so used to. So, with that, there's kind of three core ways that most people are using Sequence, or they fit into one of these three buckets. First one is basic money movements, right? Maybe you just want to start setting money aside for taxes. I don't know if anybody on the call is a business owner, but we all went through this tax process, right? Maybe you filed an extension, but the last couple days, last few weeks have probably been a little bit stressful. But just setting up things like a tax bucket so that money's automatically set aside for it. Or maybe it's you've always wanted to have an emergency fund and you just need some help getting it over there, because we know how hard it is once your paycheck hits to start manually carving out money for an emergency fund is not the easiest process. So some of those basic money movements. The next group is more advanced budgeting. So moving into, we used to employ a waterfall type system, or maybe some of you have heard of Ramit Sethi and the 50-30-20 like conscious spending plan. A bit more advanced budgeting, still not all that advanced, but we can start to segment our spending categories and sending the appropriate amount of money into each of those buckets. So that's one of the next ways, if we're thinking like a 101, a 201, and then the 300 level class is we have some unbelievably impressive users when it comes to how they've set up their maps. There's a little screenshot. I don't know how easily you can see it, but some unbelievable sophistication that people have been able to build in. We don't want you to start there unless you love spreadsheets, numbers, automation, you name it. Like hey, feel free because we've got a lot of users in that space. But what we're trying to do today is just make you feel confident with that first baby step. And then we can continue to grow as we build out our map, as we feel more confident and understand our spending. So that is kind of the three core buckets that we see on our side. Now, I just want to give you a couple highlights. We're getting Gilad, our CEO, talks about he calls them love letters. I like that. It's the amount of success that people are having using Sequence is pretty unbelievable. It's literally every single day. We have an entire Slack channel just dedicated to people writing in on any of the mediums. And so it's pretty amazing what we've seen from a success perspective. In this case, Dave paid off $41,000 in debt in 7 months, saved an hour and a half a week because he was also managing a business. So when it comes to, for those of you that are business owners, you realize how complex it can be to manage your money and how time draining it can be. And let's be honest, we'd rather work on the business rather than the finances. Add an additional $1,000 a month to his own personal savings and literally cut his debt in half. So we're talking some amazing numbers, and that's over 7 months. Another person, in this case, it was James, saved $5,000 in just his first 2 months, 2 hours per week that he saved, $2,000 additional going into automated investing, and finally had 100% control over his money. Because I don't know what it is for everybody else out there. We're in a fortunate situation in our household to have a pretty healthy income, but that doesn't mean that the spending is necessarily under control. You make whatever you're making at the beginning of the month or whenever the paycheck hits, it feels good. You look at your account, you're like, great. And then by the time the next paycheck's about to hit, you're like, where did all that money go? So that's what we're really trying to focus on with Sequence is helping you understand what's coming in, what's going out, and how we can change that behavior to help us get in a more controlled and on track process to where we want to get to. So here's some of those love letters, right? Just constant examples. We're getting some amazing feedback. And if any of you guys have success, we'd love to hear about it. So please, please, please make sure you reach out to our team because we love to post this stuff. Um, and then, so quick background on me. As I said, was a financial advisor for a number of years, worked both at New York Life, at Vanguard in an innovation capacity, at Asset Map, have started 3 companies of my own. So I love this space. I've been in it for almost my entire professional career, helping people or advisors when it comes to improving their process, managing their money, getting to the outcomes they want. So this is a space that is near and dear to me. As a quick side note, there we go. This picture, I know you guys can't see it because it's so grainy and in the back, but my uncle passed away unexpectedly. I grew up lower middle class, and my uncle passed away unexpectedly when I was 24 years old. And he made one decision that changed the life of me, my family, and literally our entire family tree. He ended up, before his untimely passing, ended up taking a life insurance policy and made each of his nieces and nephews equal beneficiaries. So at the age of like 23 years old, yeah, I was 23, got a $120,000 check, which was 4 times it was like 4 times my salary. I was making $30,000 a year. And it literally changed my life. Allowed my wife to go back to med school because she was a teacher at inner city school. Allowed me to quit my job and then study to become a financial advisor, where was very fortunate to have a lot of success. And then literally that same type of story happened for every one of my cousins and my brother as well. Like, so the story there is that even one single decision that you make that is a good one when it comes to your finances, you don't understand the impact, the ripple impact that can have not only for you, for your partner, for your family, but for generations to come. It can literally transform the trajectory that you and your family are on. So this is why it's a really powerful topic for me and why I like talking about it. So hopefully we can drop some nuggets for you guys to help everybody else understand the power of, if you make this right decision and start to make progress towards your goals, like the impact that can have for you and your family. So with that, moving into Sequence. Now this is like the fun building stuff. Really, there's 4 steps. And it's pretty straightforward. And we're going to go through all 4 of them. I have a sample account up. We're going to go through the entire process. It's about connecting your accounts. So if you've done any type of budgeting tool before, if you've used Mint, rest in peace. I don't think it exists anymore. If you used YNAB, if you used Monarch, Rocket Money, you name it, you've gone through this process, right? It's Plaid. There's a couple different service providers. You probably won't know the names, but you'll go through this syncing process where we're able to find all of your accounts. So your banking, your checkings and savings, your investment accounts, your credit cards, your mortgage, you name it. We're able to find all of that and bring it onto your map. So that's step 1, is like connecting your existing infrastructure, for lack of a better term, from a banking perspective. Then we want to determine our goals. So what do we actually want to accomplish? Because we can help you get to the goal that you want, but we got to figure out what we actually want to accomplish. Maybe that's paying down debt. Maybe that's increasing your savings. Maybe that's saving for college for a kid. Maybe that's starting a new business. You name it. Like we can help you get there. We just need to figure out what those goals are because if we start sending money to different places without any plan, doesn't necessarily help us get to where we want to go. We then create the rules, which is a pretty easy process, and I'll show you. And then we sit back and relax. So the 4 steps kind of a nice one. Um, so with that, I wanted to go through a couple different situations. We're going to start with our business owner, just because we have so many users on the business side, and the good news is a lot of business finance is similar to personal finance, and I can show you. We'll build out the business flow for our entrepreneur James here, and then I'll show you the personal side as well because that ties into the busy parents. But I realize I've been
Hey,
talking.
Nick,
Yeah,
can I interject really quick?
yeah.
Just a quick side note to let everybody know. I dropped this into chat, but if you're just listening along and you're in the room and you have a question that you want us to ask Nick, just drop it into chat and we'll pick those up as we get a chance. Sorry, Nick, go ahead.
No, no. Yeah, thank you. Yeah, I can talk for hours, but I would much rather answer questions and make it interactive rather than just preach. So I appreciate that, Kevin. Um, so that's what we're going to do. And let me show you exactly what we want to build out for John here. What we're going to do is we're going to, he's got a business. Business revenue is about $30,000 per month. Might sound amazing, might sound small. Don't know where everybody is in their own personal financial journey, but forget the numbers because it doesn't really matter. The principles are the same. His main goals, like most entrepreneurs, most business owners, setting aside money for taxes. It is a pain in the tush to do that on a consistent basis. And once you have all of the same thing holds true for individuals. When you have all of your money in a single account, it's really hard to do what's called the mental allocation of those funds. So it's hard to remember if I've got my savings and my emergency fund and my taxes and my spending money all in one account. Really difficult for us to mentally calculate how much is supposed to be there. So we're all about spreading that out and creating independent accounts for each of our goals. And I'll show you how we can do that in just a couple clicks. So wants 30% going into tax savings account, wants $3,000 going to business expenses. That's payroll, pieces like that he needs every month. If he has more than $20,000 at the end of the month, wants to pay himself 5,000 bucks. Excuse me, if he has less than, I can't remember what I said. If he has less than $20,000 in the account at the end of the month, pay himself 5,000 bucks. If he has more than that, then we want 50% of whatever's left after the business expenses to go to him. Because one of the biggest things that business owners have is they don't pay themselves consistently. So we're all about trying to make sure that you're paying yourself for all the work that you're doing. Wants to make sure that he maintains at least 15,000 in his business checking, and then everything else is going to the business savings. Think of it same as an emergency fund, right? Every person or family should have an emergency fund, so should every business, because we never know what's going to come down the pike, and we want to make sure that we're creating some buffer room for those slower times in the business or for unexpected challenges that we face in our own personal lives. So with that, let me change the screen I am sharing. And we will go to sequence here. Kevin, can we see that?
Yep, looks great.
Great. So I am inside sequence right now. This is a built out map. I just wanted to give you a quick visual. We'll build from scratch so you can see it, but just give you an idea, right? This is a family where they have their income coming in. They want to split up between spending money, debts, and then goals. And then we have it ultimately going to their end accounts, right? You don't need to use our banking system for your debit card, right? I thought I had my wallet here. I don't. We use Thread Bank. They're our partner, fully FDIC insured, based out of Nashville. We love them because it allows us to send money instantly between all of our accounts. But if you use Capital One like I do, or PNC, or you name it, find the bank, we can send money to those accounts as well. And so it's really important for us to, sorry, my daughter's just come in. I love you. Get out. Thank you. Nothing like spring break. Uh, but lost train of thought. Oh, you don't ultimately need to use our accounts for your debit cards, even though we can issue debit cards. So again, we're bank agnostic wherever you bank, not a problem. So with that, I'm going to drag up to a new part of my screen so you guys can kind of see like the fresh approach when you get into sequence, how this would all work. So first thing to think about is down here in the bottom left-hand corner. If you ever want to, we built out some of our most common templates. So you don't have to build from scratch. if you see something in here like saving for taxes, or like we said before, the 50-30-20 strategy, which is popularized by Ramit Sethi, you can click on any of these and this will literally take you through the process step by step. So the first step is about creating an income source. You might ask, what's an income source? That's simply a way for us to get money into sequence so that we can start to use our smart rules. It's a checking account that we're able to open instantly. And you'll see this. You'll get the prompt. Let's call this salary, create income source. And just like that, it's going to be opening up an account for us. Real routing number, real account number. You'll have your salary deposit switch. So if you're a W-2 employee, and depending on which software your company uses for HR, you can simply click on this and it'll take you through the process to instantly sync to HR so that this will be the main account that your money goes to when your paycheck hits. Or you can simply click generate PDF. And then if you're on a Mac, just make sure you disable the pop-ups there. And it'll allow you to print out this document, which you can hand to your HR with your signature, the date, and again, making this the new deposit account. Because the biggest challenge, especially when I was an advisor, is when people have their payment, whatever it is, whether you're an employee or an employer, going to their primary checking account, it's really hard to get that money out of there because we see it all go into one spot and it's hard to pull it away. We like to bring it to a secondary source and then route it where it's supposed to go so that the money that hits your checking account is money you can actually spend, not money that's also tax money or also for future goals or also for savings or emergency funds. So just one thing that I wanted to touch on there. Now, since we are building out a scenario for our business owner, I'm going to show you what else we have here. So in this case, if you're a business owner, you would have signed up, you would have gone through what's called KYC, which you have to do at any bank. It's know your customer or know your client. I can't remember which one of those words the C is. And then KYB, which is know your business. If those words don't mean anything to you, don't worry. Same stuff you go through with any bank. But if you're a business owner, it'll give you your business name. And let's just call this business income. And just like that, we have the account set up. Same thing, a routing number, an account number. It is our new business income. And if you already are getting, like we have a lot of, let's just call it landscapers, because I just got off the phone with one. Maybe you're getting paid via Cash App, via Venmo, via Apple Pay, you name it, Venmo, all of those things. You can connect those accounts and send that money into your income source so that we can, again, route that money. So you don't need to change where the money's going. You certainly can, but we can work with any of the current providers that you're using. The next step is connecting our accounts. And so here I clicked at the bottom, connect my accounts. And then now we have to select the beneficiary. So is it the business or the person? And then we can go through and go to this process. This again uses Plaid. You'll probably see that this looks really familiar if you've used any budgeting tool before. Sorry, I've got like 15 people on our Wi-Fi right now, so it's going a little slow. But you'll select your bank. You'll go through this process. I'm putting in dummy data because I'm in a trial account. You'll put in your phone number because that allows you to do the multi-factor authentication. I'm just going to do guest because this isn't real. And we'll go through this login process. Can you see this, Kevin? Like I'm getting a pop-up, but I can never remember if users can actually see it or not.
I can't. I can see the login at PNC.
Oh, okay, you can't see the First Platypus Bank. Let me
Yeah, I'm
let
not
me
seeing on top of that.
okay. I'll stop sharing real quick and then share my full screen so that everybody can see everything because I think that will be helpful. Let me make this bigger. Boom. We'll share screen and go desktop 2, share. Now, can you see this?
I'm seeing the same thing that I saw
Same thing.
before. So
How about
I'm seeing.
now?
Okay, now I see it. Now I'm
Okay,
seeing
okay,
the
got it.
first
There we go.
platypus. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
So hopefully your bank's not actually called First Platypus. That's just our dev people being funny. But you'll go through this process of putting in your real credentials, right? Oh, and then we'll click sign in. You'll get a verification code. You'll put in that verification code, and then it'll show you all of your accounts, right? So I'm just going to click all of these so that you can see what this looks like. And typically you'll bring in all of them. Let me add in this business card as well. You'll select the options. Yes, I want to be able to do that. Yes, I've read terms and conditions. And now it'll start bringing all of these accounts in. And don't worry, you're going to see a couple errors in the top right. That's because some of these accounts are already synced. Um, just on the lower part of the page. I'm not going to finish with saving, by the way, because I'm not adding my phone number to this fake account that we're using. But right now it's going through this process of adding them all. Again, these two are already synced. That's why you're seeing that red error. Same with the cash management. But now we're having all of these accounts being added in right for us. So I'm going to space these out a little bit just so we have some visual clarity. Put the debts
Hey,
together.
Nick,
Yeah.
while you're moving those around, we do have a
Yeah.
question from Troy that I think
Yeah.
right now would probably be a decent place to try and get it in. He wants to know about specifically adding Venmo because you did ask about Venmo, or you
Yeah.
did mention Venmo a minute ago. Can you talk about anything you need to do specifically to add that option when you're connecting your account?
It's a good question. I'm trying to remember because I don't use Venmo for any of
And
my
Tara's here
businesses.
too.
Okay, Tara might be able to speak better. Tara, do you want to take a stab at it? Because I've never done it. I just know that we have had people using Venmo before, but
Yeah, I've added Venmo. I just have to go back and remember and look at my setup to remember how I did it. So just give
okay,
me like I'll follow up back on that.
cool.
Troy, what I can tell you is generally speaking, as long as it's got a routing number and an account number, that's the gold standard for us. So um, Tara can walk you. We'll circle back to the specifics here, but that's really what we're looking for.
Yep. So now that we've got this, we've got our income source created. That's this nice little blue guy. And then we've got all of our existing accounts created. Now, what we want to do is we want to go back to our goals. Like, what are we actually trying to accomplish here? And we had a couple different goals that he had. And so that brings me to my next step, which is the create pods. Pods is a silly little name. We're built by a bunch of developers, so apparently that's a common term there, but it's just another account. All right, so we're able to instantly create it. And in this case, his major priority was having a tax account set up. Oh, already have that in the last one, so I will name it something different. Taxes with a period. And I'm going to set that right there. We also wanted to make sure, like most business owners, wanted to have business expenses taken care of. If I could spell, that would help. There we go. So we've got that set up. We wanted to make sure that we had something for owner's pay. Struggling here on the old keyboard today. And what else did we have? We wanted to have a business emergency fund. And I believe that is everything that we had discussed. So we got it right here. You can see how easy it is. As things change, I'll show you how to add goals as well. So maybe it's buy a new boat or, get a down payment for a house. Again, we use pods for those because it's really easy to create a specific account for that goal. You can send a specific amount of money or a specific percent and build up that account to your end desire. It makes it much easier than just having one generic goal bucket, which is trying to accomplish 3 or 4 different goals. So now that we have this, the final step before sit back and relax is about creating the rules. It's pretty simple. It's just drag and drop. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to click and I'm going to, gotta move my mouse. Sorry, I got some stuff in the way. Going to click and drag to taxes. And now for every rule, I have a couple different options. I can trigger it every single time money comes in. So whether it's $5, $500, $50,000, the rule will run as soon as the money hits. Or I can trigger it by date. So I could do it weekly, monthly, semi-annually, bi-weekly, you name it. In this case, he wanted to do everything on a monthly basis just because it helps a lot of business owners with fluctuating revenue to kind of like streamline that revenue out, right? So it makes it, you have the great months, you have the slow months, but if we can start to spread it out over that period of time, that can be really helpful. So we're going to hit trigger by date. And then what we're going to do is trigger this on a monthly basis. We want this to trigger on the first of the month. And we're going to, in this case, transfer a fixed percentage of the account's balance. In this case, he wanted 30% going to taxes to taxes. Simple as that. We're done. I can click save, and that rule's ready to go, rock and roll. And on the first of the month, everything that builds up inside of here will go instantly to taxes. Now, one other clever way to do this I can show you is I'm actually going to delete this rule real quick. I'll show you kind of like a slightly more advanced version just for the tax piece. Maybe you want to have your taxes coming out instantly in case other money's coming out of this account. So you always want to make sure that money's set aside for taxes. Well, what we could do is trigger it by incoming funds. In this case, we're going to do 30% to taxes, click save, and we're good to go. So that means every single time money hits this account, 30% is instantly going into our tax account that we can pay our taxes out of later. And again, all of these pod accounts, you can issue a debit card. Taxes might be a weird one. I'm trying to remember if they actually ask for a debit card, but you can order virtual or get a physical card for this. And so you'll be able to add it to your Apple Pay, your Google Wallet, whatever you want to. So that's rule number one. So in this case, every single time he gets paid, 30% is going to taxes. I'm going to create another rule where now all of a sudden the rest of these rules are going to be built off of a trigger by date. So in this case, now we're going to do this monthly. We're going to do it on the first of the month. And then what we want to do is we want to transfer a fixed amount. He had $3,000 going to his business expenses. And then I'm going to add another rule. And then we wanted to set up, I'm not going to do the conditional piece yet. I just want to do some basic pieces. He wanted $5,000 going to his owner's pay. So I'm just scrolling down, looking for owner's pay. Sorry, I have owner's pay somewhere else on my map. So there we go. And then he wanted everything else going to the business emergency fund. So now instead of transfer fixed amount, transfer percentage, 100% to our business emergency fund. So now I can click save right now. And just like that, I have the rules set up. And what I want to show you is that I can actually click on these rules before you ever set this stuff live. We've got this great little rule simulation where you can click on it. And now you can see what would actually happen. So if he gets $5,000 in here on the first of the month, you'll see $3,000 is going to the business expense, but owner's pay is not getting anything. Well, that's because there were insufficient funds. The rule stopped. And that's because we didn't check these boxes. Now, these little boxes, I don't know how well you can see it, how zoomed in this is. That says transfer up to. And that little tiny text says this action will transfer any available funds from the business income to business expenses up to $3,000. So that's usually an important piece for us to select because if there's not enough funds to run your rule, it's going to stop. But you might say, well, I don't want it to not pay me at all. I want to just take whatever's left over. Perfect. If you click the transfer up to, that will work for you. So now we can run that rule. And now $3,000 goes to business expenses, $2,000 goes to owner pay, and then there's nothing left over for the business emergency fund. But if instead of $5,000, he has $35,000, we can run that simulation and see $3,000 goes to the business expense, $5,000 to owner's pay, and $27,000 to the emergency fund. So that's the great little piece about this is that you can make sure that these rules are working for you no matter what. Now, one question that you might have there is, oh, wait, I didn't see any money going to taxes. Well, that's just simply because I set up this tax rule so that it's every single time money's hitting the account, it's taken out. So I don't ever have to worry about it. No matter when that money's coming in, 30% is automatically going to taxes. So it's not something I have to worry about. Instead, on the first of the month, the rest of the money is going to come out. So another way to do that, just so you can see, is I can always add more rules. And let's just say I want everything to run on the first of the month just so that it's obvious and easy for me to edit in the future. Well, I can go down here, add a new rule, say I want 30% to go to my tax account. And this was taxes with a period. And now I just simply need to drag this up because the tax piece we want to take care of first, right? We want to take taxes out of the big number and then let every other rule run. And again, I can run this simulation again, see that $35,000. And just like that, I see $10,500 goes to taxes, $3,000 to the business expense, $5,000 to owner's pay, and $16,500 to our emergency fund. So just like that, I've got it set up. And then the only thing I'm going to do is making sure that I delete the other rule because I had two sets of rules going to my tax account. So I just simply click delete, delete, done, we're good to go. So now everything is running via one rule on the first of the month, 30% taxes, 3,000 to business expenses, 5,000 to owner's pay, and everything else to our emergency fund. So I realize I've been saying a lot. Kevin, any questions or anything you want to add in before I keep going?
Yeah, we had another comment from Troy, and he was asking about future updates to multi-select groups of squares and move them as a sort of grouped unit as opposed to one by one. I don't know where that is, but I am going to use this as an opportunity to drop into chat our Frill site, which is where you can suggest new features. So
Well, the good news
that
is we already
is
have it. So I was
okay.
dragging them one by one, but I'm
Yep.
holding down Shift, click
Yep.
and drag. There we go. Got multi-select. Can move them around, and we're good to go. So great
Anyway,
question.
Troy, it is a great question.
Yep.
And Troy, if you come up with any others, feel free to explore that Frill site, and we do iterate off of it all the time.
Yep. And now one of the other things that John in this fake, example wanted to have was he had a couple different pieces, and I don't want to go too far into the weeds, but I think this is a cool little thing for us to show is he wanted to make sure that if there was less than $20,000 in his account, and this would be the business income account, he was paying himself $5,000 and the rest of those rules were running. So what you can actually see here, and I wouldn't recommend this for somebody just getting started unless you just love this stuff and like kind of conditional statements or you're a big Excel person, but you can actually add conditions here. So in this case, if we wanted to accomplish that, we would say if the balance of the account, in this case, business income, is less than set amount of $20,000, these rules are going to run. So what we just set up. 30% to taxes, 3,000 to business expenses, 5,000 to owner's pay, and everything else to business emergency. The else feature, so if then or if else, so if it is greater than $20,000, we get to set up our rules. So we're going to set up a percentage of 30 is going to taxes. We're going to say 50, fixed amount of $3,000, still the same for his business expenses. And then I'm going to click that transfer up to. In this case, when it was over $20,000, he wanted to make some more money. So we're going to transfer a fixed percentage of 50% was going to be going to owner's pay with a apostrophe. Yep. And then I can add another rule, or I can just simply click this add account and have the remaining 50% go to our business emergency fund. So now I can click save, or I can again test this rule and start to see how this all works out, right? Rules run the simulation. And now, sorry that it keeps going to this tiny little side. You can't see it all that well, but it's showing you which execution ran, right? And it's showing this difference. So originally we were only paying ourselves $5,000, but because the account balance was over 35,000, which is the rule, right? Is that over 20,000? Yes, it is. Well, it puts 30% into taxes, 3,000 to business expense, and then splits the remaining 50-50 between owner's pay and emergency fund. So just like that, we've set up that logic. So depending on where his money's fluctuating in and how much happens to be aggregated over the course of the month, he's either getting his flat paycheck of 5,000 or he's getting 50% of that remainder. Again, fully customizable to you. Just wanted to give you an idea of how that works out. And the last piece here on the business emergency side, he wanted to make sure that his business expenses always had at least $15,000 worth of money. So what we can do is, and I realize I haven't touched any of the existing accounts, so I'll hop there next, but we can also just create a rule between our emergency fund, part of the reason it's so important to have an emergency fund, and our business expenses. And what we can do here is we can trigger this by date. We can run this on a daily, monthly, weekly basis. So let's just run this on a daily basis. And now the condition can be if the balance of our business expense account is less than $15,000, we want to not transfer fixed amount, not transfer percentage. We can actually top up. This is the first time we've talked about this rule. Great rule for our emergency funds or any goal account that you have. Top up means it'll keep increasing that amount of money until it gets to that point. So we can top up our business expense to the tune of $15,000. $15,000. So every single day now, it's going to look at this and say, is the business expense below 15,000? If it's above 15,000, nothing's going to happen. If it's below 15,000, well, it's going to top it back up with whatever's in the business emergency fund. So I click save, and just like that, we're good to go. So again, this is a great way for us to start to accommodate all of those rules in just a few minutes, outlining John's piece. Last thing I want to show here, just to this, again, all of these principles, I know I'm doing a business example, same principles for an individual. Let me show you kind of like a debt payoff strategy, because I think that's really powerful for a lot of people. In this case, let's just run it around business expenses, because maybe that's the only debt that he has. Well, what we can do is we can actually set this up. In this case, I'd probably trigger it by date, because when we're talking about our credit cards and whatnot, typically we're paying them by date. I would trigger by date. And then let's just do this monthly. Let's assume that their cards are due in the middle of the month. And now, because we connected it to a liability, that's what the yellow means. We actually have some different sources here. We can transfer a percentage of the source's account balance. We can execute debt snowball or debt avalanche. So if you're familiar with Dave Ramsey, you've probably heard that. We can pay the current balance. We can pay a percent of the liability, the minimum payment due, the last statement balance. All of these pieces here are already programmed in. And the thing I'll tell you is we have a lot of people using debt snowball. So in this case, we can say we want to use $1,000 from what's inside of the business expense account to pay to debt snowball our credit card. And then I'm just going to add our other accounts, what our Plaid business credit card and our Plaid mortgage. Mortgage might be a weird thing to add it for. And sorry, you're seeing multiple options because I've connected a few of them multiple times. And then you'll get this alert. There's one last step. Your rule is set, but to ensure the payments go through, you need to add sequence as an auto pay payment source on your biller's website. So this, you got to do this step. This is simply, we're sending the money automatically into our system to be there. You're just going to need to go into Amex and change where you're actually pulling that money from, right? Like probably right now it's your primary bank account, your checking account. Well, what we need you to do is just change it over to this new account that we've created for you. So you'll see that inside of here. So this is the new account that we're setting up for you to be able to pull those funds from. Again, we're trying to warn you or alert you in every single place possible to make payments to this account. Use the routing and account number below to set up sequence as the auto pay. You'll see it right here. Again, that's the important piece because we're able to run the money, send it to our place, and then they need to be able to pull it from a specific account because that's just how all the liabilities work. One question might be having is, why are there not lines here? Well, that's because I accidentally clicked the wrong ones and I sent it to these these accounts that have the exact same name down below. So I can probably change those to make it a bit more visually appealing. Let's find guess I'll just have to guess what they are. Hopefully it's this one, and hopefully it's the second mortgage. Let's see if I guessed right this time. There we go. Cool. So now we've got it set up. So with that, I'll take a few minutes to just explain what you're seeing down here because this is a pretty kind of common, typical household for anybody that's not running a business on this side. Because again, you can not only run your business finances, but you can also run this straight through to the rest of it. This could be a perfect example of we've got one spouse doing the business, running the business. I'm going to drag this out of the way. And then we've got somebody else in the household, the spouse or the partner, having their own money. And so in this case, we could simply connect it by having our owners pay here and sending it down to our checking. And so now we can trigger it every single time that owner pay hits. I can put, let's say 50% is going to go to the joint checking. And then I want the other 50% to actually go to the goals account that we've created below that I will show you here in a second. So now here's how we've combined these two situations in just a matter of minutes. We had this spouse income, right? They wanted to have some money set aside for spending, some for debts and bills, some for goals. And so now the way that this money that's hitting this account would happen is every single time they're getting paid, that's the trigger, 50% is going to the spending money, 30% is going to the goals, and 20% is going to the debts and bills. And again, the spending money is going to their checking accounts, so they don't need to change banks. They certainly can use all of Thread banks because we can get you debit cards for all of these, but They just wanted to keep using Capital One, not a problem. Their debts and bills they set up for their personal credit card, the mortgage, and the student loan. And then the goals is a great one too, because the goals they wanted to buy a new car, they wanted to save money for vacation, because we all know how challenging from a budgeting perspective it can be to save up for a vacation because you're paying once and then it's essentially wiping out your budget, or maybe your bank account's going much lower than you feel comfortable. So what we can do is we can actually set up a vacation fund or a Christmas fund or a new car fund so that this money is slowly being set aside over the course of the year. So in this case, they are topping up. Again, they're trying to grow their new car fund to $20,000. Thought that said 200 at first, $20,000. And they put a limit of $500 per transfer. So every single time money comes in, up to $500 is going to go to this new car fund account, $500 at a time until it hits 20,000. Nothing more is going to be added in. Their Christmas fund is $6,000. Again, that's $300 per transfer. So it's going to keep adding up, $300 at a time, $300 at a time. And then everything else in their situation would go into their vacation fund. So again, this is how we can set this whole flow up in just a matter of minutes once we understand how to connect our accounts, how to understand what goals we want to accomplish, and then just how to create the rules that help us get there. So again, I realize I've talked for 40 minutes straight with nobody else talking. Happy to answer any questions, or Kevin, if there's anything you or Tara wanted to add that we didn't touch.
Troy's got another comment. So
cool.
So he says, I've noticed that when you add your own bank account, it's marked as destination only. If we want to have the funds pay our bills within sequence, would we have to have it pay from the purple card pod?
Yeah, the destination only thing in this case, like in my sequence account, it doesn't show up as destination only. I don't know. I don't know, and maybe Tara knows what makes it show up as a destination only or not. I know that's the case on investment accounts and other pieces. I have, I think, 6 bank accounts tied to this, both at PNC and Capital One, and none of them show as destination only. So we'll figure out that information. If Tara doesn't know it offhand, don't know. What I do, I actually don't personally, and I'm probably in the minority. Um, what I did is I have about 60 different recurring expenses every single month. So I have this debt and bills. So the way that my finances go, we have spending money and then we have recurring bills. So send X amount to recurring bills to cover the whole course of the month. I just change the direct payment to that account number. So I click in here and then I went into my providers and just simply changed the auto pay to this routing and account number. I like that better because I didn't want to create all those different rules. And some of the lenders that I have horrible technology, so it's just too much of a pain to do it. And we're not doing like any debt snowball pieces. So there's really, I think, 3 different ways. One is do this process that we outlined here, which is connecting the accounts directly from a pod. And then you have to go that extra route of going into your bill pay. In this case, let's just call it your Plaid credit card and changing the auto pay here. Or you can do it from your joint checking account as long as it doesn't say destination only. You could still, like, it'll still be able to pull, right? Because every credit card or every lender just needs an account and a routing number so that they can pull money from it. But if you want to use the smart rules to do it, like that wouldn't impact it. I'm just not using any smart rules for any of our bills. And then the third way is to do what I did, which is just go into each of your providers and just change the auto pull directly to the information that is here in the pod. So I don't have a preference personally. I just wanted to do it myself rather than have a whole string of 60 different rows. It was just, to me, it wasn't worth that extra effort.
There is one additional question, Nick.
Yeah.
Troy's asking also about, and this comes up from time to time, but he's asking about, is there an incentive to have money sit in the savings pods? I think some of this is like an interest related question, but he also says, I like how the pods allow us to move money around, but when I move it to other accounts, something like Betterment, it gives me basically he's talking about high interest, high yield savings account.
Yeah.
Anyway,
Yeah.
can you speak to that a little bit?
Yeah, absolutely. And I can pull my screen back up if I want to, just to know if it made sense to. So yeah, right now we don't have interest rates on those accounts. So I personally have my emergency fund at Capital One's 4.5%. Literally, I am talking through on a daily basis with a couple different providers to make that more attractive so that we can have some industry leading interest rates. So right now I use a pod to send money to that external destination account when it comes there. But we did actually switch from the first couple months I was using Sequence, we would use Capital One, like literally for our day-to-day spending. I didn't want to have to wait for like the 2 days for the money to get from the pod to there. So we've actually changed all of our spending to Thread Bank and like the Sequence card, the physical debit card and the virtual debit card that I've got on my phone. But yeah, my external emergency savings still goes outside so that I can get that increased interest rate.
Cool. Great question, Troy.
Yeah, absolutely. Anything
We're
else?
Almost up against. I don't have anything else. We're almost up against time, and it's not unusual because we've covered a lot of ground today, guys. Like, if you have questions afterward, there are a lot of different places that you could reach us. So, Nick, do you want to speak to like where the best places for folks to reach out for you, and then we can tell
guys, I got a quick question. If you can you hear me?
Yeah.
Yep, can hear you.
So I just got the app yesterday or so, and I'm trying to run a test run with it. And I just did $100 little transfer in from one account to the salary pod, and then I got my rules made from there, but I don't see it going through. So, is there a 2-day time? Is there a 2-day, 3-day time transaction time on that? Is that what's going on there?
Exactly right. So when you're sending money either from an external bank to us or us to an external bank, there's always going to be a delay because it has to go via ACH. So not to nerd out too much on like the banking regulations, but it does take anywhere from 1 to 5 days, depends on how quick your external bank is. We can process everything same day, but that's why we like to bring the money originally into the system, because anything that hits this account will move instantly to your other Thread accounts. Once it's going externally, again, it depends on the bank that we're sending it to. They could recognize it the first day, like you'll see it leave your account, but then it'll be in transit, and then it'll finally show up the same way that a paycheck typically is like issued maybe even on a Wednesday and then hit your account on a Friday. So there is that delay. So it's
how would I put a check into that routing number and account number that you guys are providing? Is there a way to direct deposit a check into that?
Into the income source?
Yeah.
So I don't think you can do it there, Tara. Feel free to chime in at any point in time if you have additional thoughts. I think actually hold. Oh, Tara, your audio's tough. We'll
yeah. Are you in a tunnel?
Here, mute Tara, and then we'll wait for her because I found the answer. So I was wrong. Take back the last 15 seconds of what I said. Click on the income source. Click on the 3 dots. Here, Kevin, you should mute Tara.
Yeah, I'm gonna do that.
Yeah.
She is muted.
Oh, okay.
The check.
I'm gonna go ahead and I'm gonna mute everybody else just to make sure.
Here we go.
That,
okay. You'll click deposit check, and then this will take you through the process. So it'll text you. And then I actually haven't done that before. So that's an interesting piece. But again, getting money in here, it'll still take a deposit. Even a check usually does not register at a new bank. I'm not a banking expert like the technicalities, but depositing your first check at a new bank, I do think still going to take a day or two to verify, just because every bank's going to go through a fraud like validation piece. So that's it will probably take 1 to 2 days. Once you have consistent income coming in, I assume that the banks are much friendlier to that because that's what happens like with my Capital One PNC on an ongoing basis. But hopefully that answers your question.
Well, and yeah, Tara did say there's a 5 business day hold for checks. So
yeah, which I think that's industry standard. Like that's a fraud prevention piece, so they don't have people cashing fake checks and then just sending the money externally.
All right, it looks like Troy has his hand raised. Troy, do you want to unmute and shout?
Hey, I just want to say thanks for answering all my questions. I feel like I've been typing up a storm.
But typing. That's what we're here for.
I appreciate it. I feel like there's a lot of potential here, and I really like it a lot. Right, it's a really great visual way for kind of people to process their money. The one question I did have was looking at this the item that you have here. So if I'm taking the business expense pod and I wanted to pay off some of my bills, like my credit card, my mortgage, and things like that, right?
Yeah.
I wanted to double check. You said that there's 3 ways to do it, right? So most people right now probably have it connected to their bank account. It would be one, you would go in and disconnect your bank account altogether, right? And you you disconnect your bank account altogether and then add the bank account of the business expense, right? Where you have the routing account number there. So it just pulls from there, right? That's one option.
Yeah, I think yes. Here, the three are uh, don't create. First rule is, or the first option, don't create any rules here. Like I don't have rules going to actually pay off my debts personally. All I did was I call up Amex, or I don't call them up, log into Amex and literally change my auto, right? Because you have to put in your bank information, like where are you going to pay this bill from? I change it to Thread Bank, routing number, account number. That's what I did. That's one option. Not necessarily better or worse, just that's what I did. So now every single time that bill is due, it's auto drafting the amount from this particular pod. Another option is doing exactly what we did, which is click and drag the rule. In this case, we have debt snowball running, and it'll be the same no matter what strategy you use. Could be debt snowball, could be pay full balance, you name it. You're going to need to go, you're going to get that alert instantly, like, hey, you have one more step. And then you're also going to get that alert here. Finish connecting your accounts to make payments to this account. Use the routing and account number below to set up sequences auto pay funding. So it's the exact same thing. You're going to need to go into that liability and then put in the information instead of for your pod, you're going to put it in for this specific sequence account that we created, which is this little guy right here. So we create a separate sequence account for you that allows us to automatically send the correct amount of money based on which strategy you're using. And then this is where you're going to be setting up that auto pull from the liability, in this case, the Plaid credit card. Does that make sense?
Okay. Okay. Yeah. Yeah. So this route right here with the one with the arrows, right? It's that's not the one you do, right? You just change the bank account, but the arrows
Correct.
is
Yeah,
like this
I
visual
didn't do
indicator.
this rule. I my map looks like this. Delete, because I we pay off our credit cards each month, so my bills are just like subscription type things. So
Yep.
it's just I log into Comcast, I log into Verizon, and then when it comes to putting in where am I pulling this money from, it's the pod information.
Okay, that makes sense. I guess it'd be nice too, because sometimes the arrow is a nice indicator, right?
Yeah.
Maybe if we could have like a dummy arrow going there, it's like a dashed arrow, so showing like, okay, yeah, like it's going here, but we're not using the rules to kind of pay for it.
Right. I'm so glad you said that. I think the same thing. I put it into the product team, not necessarily the highest priority, but you're right. You want to know where it's coming from. One other alternative is you can click on here and then you can edit all of these titles, by the way. So, which is great when it comes to creating like goal accounts, because who knows what
Hmm.
account 0201 is, but you can say right here in this description, paid from the biz expense account
Ah, that's
automatically.
smart. Yeah.
Yeah. So now you have some reference point from where that's coming from.
Okay. Yeah, that sounds great. I'm still I'm still trying to figure out how to set the betterment side of things, but I'll read through that information Tara gave me
Is that
a
sending the
link
money
where I see some.
externally for the improved interest rate?
Yeah, exactly.
Okay.
Yeah. So most likely I'll take a look at how to connect some of that stuff and kind of pull it from there. But other than that, I think this is great. And I'm just gonna plug here, but I design software as well. So if you guys are ever looking for extra designers, I'll drop my portfolio here in the chat. And if you guys are ever hiring someone, maybe part-time,
Yeah,
full-time, whatever, just hit me up.
you
Let me know.
got it. You
I really love
got
the
it.
product.
Awesome.
One other thing that Tara's probably sending this to you, the other way to do it, like if for some reason you can't find your accounts going through like our automated process, you can always add external accounts. We call them destination accounts. So if for some reason, because a lot of community banks, like every bank has a different level of technology sophistication. If for some reason you can't find your bank, you can always go in there and add in the account. So you could say, Nick Smith, you add in the routing number, 4567891, 123456789, 123456789, the account type, submit, and oh yeah, hard to believe. Not an account with a bunch of zeros, but that is the process on how you would add a separate account. So if Betterment has that, or you're just needing some bank account that you can't find, there's always that manual option. So cool.
And then Tara added a comment that I want to make sure that I say out loud for anybody who's like following on the stream, which is the destinations account are also how you can send funds to other people.
Yeah. Yep. Exactly right.
Amazing. Cool. A couple of quick housekeeping notes. Thanks, Nick, as always. You crushed these. It's fun watching the pros work, but we've got a few places. A couple of things. We'll send around a copy of the entire stream. So after the fact, if you RSVP'd to join us today, then we'll send you a copy of it. I'm also going to send you guys like a 30-second 3-question survey. So we just want to make sure that we're doing everything that we can to be helpful. And then would also invite you to check out our Discord and Reddit and Facebook community outposts where we also share updates. So anyway, thank you. Thanks everybody for spending some time with us this morning. And thank you, Nick, as always.
You bet. Great talking to everybody. Hope everybody has a great day.